Ladypreneurs. I am Elise Smith, your faith-based business coach, and you're tuned in to Divinely Driven Results on Transformation Talk Radio, where you learn and implement divine strategies for real results in your business. Now, have you ever wondered why your prospecting may not be working as well as you'd like it to? Do you spend a lot of time talking with different people, but you just are having that issue of being able to find that fruit, essentially, of sowing all these seeds by prospecting? Do you believe that prospecting is really not going to reap what you want? I am here to tell you that prospecting is the way to grow your business. It's one conversation at a time with people, right? Just like Jesus did when he was here on earth. He knew every single person and he served them one at a time. But there are some things that maybe make it a little bit of a rocky ground for you to start on with prospecting that we're going to be able to help you to clear out today so that you have a strong mindset as well as strategy to be able to prospect and get that fruit that you really are hoping to reap. So we're going to talk today all about the Lord's Law of the Harvest. So get comfy here, grab your pen and paper so you can take some notes and really kind of apply this to you, or get comfy and just go ahead and listen, because that is exactly what we're going to talk about here today, is helping you to be able to reap more abundantly through prospecting, through having those conversations with others. Now, it's not to say that you can't grow your business or that we wouldn't recommend that you grow your business through large mass media and advertising and that type of thing, but we really want to focus on these one-on-one types of conversations so you can grow it one person at a time. Because even with mass media, you want to be able to talk directly to that client or that customer and really help them to see the value of working with you. So let's dive right in. What do you feel like is the Lord's Law of the Harvest? What does that mean to you, and how does that really apply to you and your business? Because I automatically think of Galatians 6:7, and that scripture says, "For whatsoever a man soweth," or a woman, right, that shall he also reap. So we know just right off the bat that we are going to reap what we sow. So we might as well sow properly. And there's so many different pieces to this, and we're going to dive into a few of them. And as we're going through this, I want you to think about how else could this mean for your business. This is just one way to look at sowing and reaping, and that's choosing the vehicle of prospecting. But there are probably so many different applications for you and your business that I want you to make sure that it applies to you. So first off, we're going to talk about the steps of sowing and reaping. Now, disclaimer, I am not a farmer. In fact, I have the brownest thumb that you might ever see. My husband, who is a great green thumber, he can grow anything. In fact, he actually grows the hottest peppers in the world. That's one of his things he loves to do. So he knows a lot more about this than I do, but I've been talking to him about it and I've learned from him, and just by doing my own research, that there are several different steps when it comes to sowing and reaping, and we're going to apply that to prospecting today. So hope you are excited, because we are going to get down and dirty. And we're going to start off with fertilization. So it's really, it's making sure that you have that right ground to start out with, right? If you think about fertilizing, it's putting good things into the earth so that it will support what you are about to plant. And the best thing that I can think of when it comes to fertilization is taking out the crap that is in your mind that's telling you that you're not good enough, that no one's going to buy from you, that nobody sees the value in your product or service. Oh, wah, 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 wah. It just goes on and on and on. And so we're going to root all of that stuff out. We're going to really fertilize the ground with good things. So I want you to think about, what is it that's really going to help to support the seed that you are about to plant? Now, I know this is all symbolic, and usually we talk about, much stronger techniques, but the thing is that if we don't have this space in our head really set and right, and for us to be able to put these seeds in fertile ground, then it's not going to stick. And we're going to learn about that here after the break from our chapter 4. But we're going to first talk about the steps. So fertilization, what can you do to really make sure you're putting good things into your mind? That could be reading scriptures on a regular basis. That could be praying on a regular basis. That could be really watching those thoughts that are going on and making sure that they're positive and abundant as opposed to negative or scarce. And an easy way to do that is to just really check in with yourself right before you are ready to hop on a prospecting call or a message or an email or whatever that looks like for you in your business. Then I want you to think about, how am I feeling right now? What are my thoughts? And how can I empower those thoughts even more? And it can be as simple as saying, what I'm thinking right now is negative. So maybe you're thinking, oh, they're not going to respond to me, right? And you just simply flip it and you say the exact opposite to yourself. They are going to be so excited that I contacted them because they are looking for what I have right now. And just that one little technique can help to be able to give that ground fertilization so that we can plant something really, really important here. So fertilization is step number 1. Step number 2 is tilling the ground. And that really comes with the correct prospecting process for you and your product or service. Prospecting is not really a one-size-fits-all. You really have to think about, what is your process? What is it about you and the way that you talk that's going to really speak to the other person that you're talking to? Because I don't want you to become a robot and just be able to say, the same script that everybody else is saying. But think about a couple of different things when you're crafting your prospecting script or process. I want you to think about what it is that person's needs really are, and how can you help to show that your product or service meets those needs. And the way that you're going to understand that is to qualify them, to ask them questions. And that could really be, I'm sure you guys have all heard of FORM, F-O-R-M, which is family, occupation, recreation, and message or motivation. There's a bunch of different ways to say it, right? And when I teach FORM as this kind of icebreaker, get the conversation going, sometimes people just stay in that FORM mindset. But it is only meant to start the conversation, to be able to give you something to talk about. And if you stay in that FORM kind of arena, you may not be able to identify their needs and really get to the heart of what they're looking for. The only way you can do that is to dig a little bit deeper and find out what's behind that. So you can tie it into anything. I don't care if you sell lip gloss or paper or whatever that is. You can identify, is it closest to recreation, like what they like to do for fun? Is it closest to family and how that's going to tie into maybe spending more time with their family? Is it closest to family, occupation, what they do for work, so occupation? And what you do is you start drilling down and asking very specific questions to lead them to your product or service, to lead them to be able to see if there is or what their need is around your product or service. And we'll have a whole radio show about prospecting and scripting and what you can do there. But I just want you to start thinking about, you're going to till the ground here by having a good prospecting process. Don't just wing it on every single phone call or message or whatever that looks like. I want you to have a good, solid process. So think about what you are looking for in that process. So we talked about fertilization and tilling, and now we're going to actually plant. So you are going to plant based on their needs. See, we are so afraid in prospecting of coming off as disingenuous or super salesy or whatever you want to put in there, that there's this fear of coming off as not actually trying to serve them, but trying to serve ourselves. And we've all worked with salespeople that have been sleazy, unfortunately, and they give the rest of us a bad name. But you are not sleazy. I want you to understand that. You are helping people with your product or service because God has called you to this calling. And so even if you don't feel this super strong desire to work your business as a calling just yet, I want you to just think about how many people you're able to help with your business. And that right there is one of the ways that you are never going to be coming off salesy or sleazy, right? Is that if you identify what their need is and you match your product or service to their need, you don't have to worry about coming off as disingenuous or sleazy salesperson, right? But that's all about focusing on their needs. So we all know WIIFM, which is what's in it for me. We all tune into WIIFM radio. But what I want you to tune into is WIIFT, what's in it for them. That's what you need to focus on. And that's what we're going to do as we're planting this seed here. So once we've planted the seed, then we're going to water it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to nurture the relationship. So it's not just a one and done situation, regardless of if you get a yes or a no from that person, or even if you haven't been able to identify their needs just yet, you're going to keep in constant contact with that person, not just in an annoying, like salesy kind of way of like, you ready to work with me yet? But more of in adding value. That is one of the ways you're going to set yourself apart from all the other voices out there and all the other salespeople, is you're going to add value every single time that you talk to that person. And the easiest way to do that is to ask God. Ask God, how can I add value to this person's life today? And it could be as simple as giving them a compliment. It could be as simple as laughing at one of their jokes. It could be as simple as just asking, what are they going through today? And great, I will send you prayers for that. Whatever that looks like, but we want to water that seed and nurture that relationship. And it could be something that you put on your calendar of checking in with them quarterly or every 6 months or whatever that feels right for you. Maybe you put it in your CRM, your customer relationship management tool. Maybe you're old school and you just keep it on a piece of paper and use your pen. Whatever that looks like, I want you to water that seed. I want you to nurture that relationship. So fertilization, tilling, planting, watering, and of course, we're going to have weeds that pop up. And so we are going to weed out any kind of negative thoughts that come in. Man, the second that you start that conversation, your inner dream stealer will start screaming at you and saying, oh, if they don't respond within 5 minutes, I've had this happen. My inner dream stealer will say, oh, well, you must have offended them, or they're not really interested, right? And so we want to be aware, we want to see those weeds, meaning we want to be aware of the negative that's going on in our thoughts and in our mind. And then we want to weed those things out, just like we talked about earlier with fertilization. We're going to put the good stuff in, but the only way the good stuff stays in is if we constantly weed out that bad stuff, that negative stuff that holds us back. Because if we let that ground get covered in weeds, then it's not going to go anywhere and we're not going to have a fruitful plant in the end. So I love this. It's so much fun to talk symbolically, right? That's how we learn in the scriptures. And I think it's great. And we'll get to the scriptures here in just a minute, but really understanding this whole process of what this looks like for you and prospecting is going to help so much. So we talked about fertilization, tilling, planting, weeding, watering, and in a moment, we are going to reap what we have sown. And there's a couple of steps that we want to make sure that we are really focusing on when we're reaping so that you can reap the best out of your clients and customers for them. And we're also going to dive into Mark chapter 4, which is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to prospecting. So we're going to help you to be able to see that in a completely different light so that you can own your confidence the next time that you are talking to a prospect. So don't go anywhere. We are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back, Ladypreneurs. So before the break, we were talking about how to apply the Lord's Law of the Harvest to prospecting and helping you to find more abundance in reaching out to people and offering your product or service. So we just talked about what that can look like when it comes to fertilization, tilling, planting, weeding, watering. And now we are going to talk about what that looks like to reap and to really take that to the next level so that we can continue to reap even more. And we're also going to continue to talk about the ground that you're putting that seed in, and some great techniques to be able to help you to put the seed in the best ground possible. And don't forget that at the end of this episode, you're going to get an incredible tool that is going to help you to be able to do just this today. So stay tuned. So we've talked about being able to make sure that seed is planted in good ground, but let's talk about reaping. Now, it can be hard work to reap, right? You think about the farmers in the fields that are out there, from the beginning of the day all the way to the end of the day, and they work hard to bring in their harvest. And so I want you to think about reaping in the form of prospecting as making sure you're asking for the sale each time. Now, I know that sounds really simple and really silly, right? Who wouldn't ask for the sale? But think about how you're asking for the sale when you are reaping, or even asking them to a sales call, inviting them to a sales call. Think about what that looks like on their side. Are you coming off as confident? Are you actually helping them to commit to doing so, to either coming to the sales call or buying from you? It's so funny because I have seen a lot of people sell. That's one of the things that I do, is I can kind of give you some feedback as a coach of how you're selling, even if it's just in a role play. And sometimes we think we're asking for the sale when we're really coming off as just suggesting it. And so we want to be really clear with that. And we want to ask for that sale, or even that invitation, extend that invitation to the sales call with confidence, knowing that you are really serving them, and not this idea in the back of your head of like, oh, they just think that I'm trying to get something out of them. No, you have confidence because you know that you are on God's errand to be able to serve them in just that way that they're meant to be served, that God wants them to be served by you in particular. So thinking about asking for that sale with confidence, but also understanding that we reap what we sow. And that sounds simple, but it's funny because you would never expect to have a pea plant come out of the ground if you are actually planting a corn seed, right? So we reap the exact kind that we sow. So think about when you are asking for the sale. Are you asking for like your bare minimum because maybe you're afraid that they can't afford it, kind of like what we talked about last episode? Or are you asking for what you feel like is really going to serve them Why are you asking for your highest product first? If you never ask for it, you're never going to get it. So think about that. Take that to the Lord and say, what should my sales process be like? And in order to be able to help them the most, as well as help myself. Because if I'm not making money and I'm not growing the business, then there isn't going to be any way to serve those people. So we want to make sure we're continuing to stay in business by bringing in the income, right? So thinking about that, of actually taking that time to reap and making sure that we are asking for that sale. But then the next step and the last step is showing gratitude. Oh, it's so easy to receive, or to focus on those things that are not going right in our business. But it's so important for us to thank God, to be able to take that moment and just say, thank you, dear Lord, for bringing this person to me, that I may serve them according to thy will, right? Thank you for giving me that opportunity to talk to that person. See, when we come at a place of gratitude, then we automatically bring abundance energy with us. So not only are we giving thanks for the things that we have, regardless of if it's half of what we wanted in the first place, or whatever that may be, when we give thanks to God, then he's more likely to continue to bless us. It's kind of, it's important for us to be able to really give that gratitude to the Lord, because let's be honest, everything that we have is from the Lord anyway. So we need to recognize that and acknowledge it and remember that. So the next thing about gratitude, though, is that abundance energy that we were just talking about. Now, if you are having that abundance energy when you are in that sales conversation or even that prospecting conversation, then you're going to come off as really serving that other person. But if you look at it from the other angle and you have a very scarcity mindset and you have this thought in the back of your head like, oh, that person better buy from me, otherwise I won't be able to pay my bills this month. Well, it's like they can feel that energy, and scarcity pushes people away when they feel that that need from you as the salesperson to buy from you. So when we come at it as a place of gratitude and a place of abundance, then we automatically attract more of what we want in our lives. So fertilizing, planting, weeding, watering, reaping, and showing gratitude. Those are all the steps of sowing and reaping. But what I really want to dive into is the scriptures. So in Mark chapter 4, it really talks about how we can plant seeds on different ground. And it gives us some really strong warnings of watching what we could look for in our ground, making sure that our ground is most fertile and ready to receive that fruit and that abundance, because it can't grow in a place that's not good ground. So let's dive right into the scriptures, because that's the best place anyway. And we are in Mark chapter 4. So it says, hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. I'm going to stop right there in the very beginning there. You are a sower. I want you to own that. You're a salesperson, because you have been given this incredible gift to be a salesperson so you can serve others. So own it. I want you to say right now, I am a sower and I'm proud of it. Perfect. All right. Let's continue on in the scriptures. It says, and it came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. So what could that mean? Some fell by the wayside. When I read that, it seems like there wasn't a direct place for that seed to go. It was kind of like throwing it up in the air and seeing where it lands. And of course, it could land on stony ground. It could be eaten by birds. And when I think of that, I think about how sometimes we kind of broadcast it out there for the world to hear that we are a salesperson and we're offering this, this type of service. But if we're not speaking directly to our divine client or customer's needs, then that seed is not going to be placed in very good ground, because we receive advertisements and messages all day long that we only really pay attention to the ones that are specific to us, that we can have that kind of me too moment with. So if we are talking, and we've talked about this before, but when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And that's just like throwing your seeds up in the air and hoping that they land somewhere good. We want to be able to control that and co-create with God, because it is so important that we speak to the right person. So that's that first set of scriptures. And let's continue on. And it says, and some fell on stony ground where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. Now, what could be the root that we're talking about here? You know, have you ever had somebody try to sell you on a product or service without understanding your needs? You know, where they really talk about kind of generic needs, like, oh, everybody needs this product because of this, right? But they don't actually get to the root of what you are looking for. That's how I take this scripture. When there is no root, when you don't actually get to the real strong why of why they should buy from you, then it's very surface level, and you could get people bringing back your product. You could get people who are possibly one-time buyers, or they might not buy from you at all because you weren't able to get down to the root of why they really want your product or service. And we have a great tool to be able to help you do that, and that's asking yourself why. What's important to them, and why is it important to them? 5 layers deep. So just keep on asking yourself that, and your message is going to be a lot stronger and be able to build those roots for that sell, as opposed to just focusing on a generic answer that anyone can say that they can solve for them. So thinking about that. And then it goes on to say, and some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. So what are the thorns that could choke out the seed? And for me, this is definitely that inner dream stealer, right? It's that belief that if we are planting this seed, but we don't believe in it, if we are having this prospecting conversation, but our heart's not in it, or that we don't believe that they'll actually work with us, or that we'll even be able to find their needs, identify their needs, then we choke out the chance of really helping that person because we get in our own way and we sabotage that situation. And so the last part here is, and other fell on good ground. That's what we want, right? And did yield fruit that sprang up and increased and brought forth some 30 and some 60 and some 100. Man, the possibilities of connecting with the right person is huge for you to be able to really grow your business. When we talk to the right person about the right reason, meaning we really understand their needs and we can speak to it, for our product or service, we put the seed in good ground. When it's in good ground and we believe in it and we have faith in it and we nurture that seed like we just talked about, then it can bring forth more fruit than we can possibly imagine. And God can bless so many people through our business because of that. Now, as we all know with planting, is that this is not an overnight type thing. We have to be consistent in our efforts. And it can be really disappointing to get that first year's crop to come in when we're not working with the greatest ground. But every single time that you sow, you are fertilizing and prepping that ground to be even better. So what that looks like for prospecting is, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you feel like you suck at it, I want you to continue to work at it. Continue to make sure that that ground is right by having that right mindset and continuing to pull those weeds of doubt and fear. And continuing to plant those seeds, continuing to talk to people and to have faith that it's going to go somewhere and that you really are meant to help those particular people. By small and simple things, our great things come to pass, but it has to be over time and with consistency. So that's what I want to leave you with here today. Is there's so many different ways to look at this story and apply it to you in your business. But when I read it, for me, that was all about prospecting, because that's something that we all tend to struggle with sometimes, but it is vital to our business to be able to bring more of those clients and customers in. So thank you so much for joining today. And if you would like an amazing tool on helping you to be able to really get that consistency going in your prospecting, go to divinelydrivenresults.com divinelyDrivenResults.com and download my Divine Business Tracker. You're going to see it at the top of the website where you can click on that, or you can go to divinelydrivenresults.com/tracker. You are not going to want to miss this amazing tool that's going to help you to have that consistency you're looking for in your prospecting, understand your sales process and your conversion, and even learn how to have amazing, powerful business meetings with God. So thank you so much for watching today, and we will see you on our next show.